Thank you, Chairwoman, and I want to thank the witnesses for being here today for your testimony. Commissioner, you know, as an outsider looking in and looking at what we've heard, 700,000 taxpayers having their personal information compromised, that we had the GAO come in with 45 recommendations that, you know, the chairman asked you how many of those have been implemented, and we didn't get a sufficient answer on that. And then more recommendations from GAO. And I guess, I mean, what are the successes that you've had in fixing this problem? I mean, when we tell the American people we've had successes, we're fixing this, we're giving you confidence that we're on the right track, after we've had these series of events, statistics out there, and these breaches, I mean, what are the successes?
Successes are, first of all, and again, I always knock on wood, our basic system has not been breached. As I say, we are attacked over 1 million times a day.
Since when? When is the date that you use on that?
Forever. We have not had a breach of our database directly. We've had breaches by people masquerading as taxpayers and applications. The basic database of the IRS has had no significant breach that I know of ever. But the other thing that's happened, we're talking about identity, we are increasingly successful at stopping refund fraudulent returns. Last year we stopped over 4 million suspicious returns. 1.5 million of them, for about $8 billion, were identified as fraudulent. Our filters are going forward. The most significant thing we've done in the last year, very successful, is our partnership with the private sector and the states, working together for the first time, exchanging information in real time during the filing season. Now, where do they see suspicious patterns? Where do we? We are sharing that back and forth. A small part of the money that we got for the $290 million is being spent in support of that partnership. I think the data will show that this year taxpayers were safer. I was asked that question. The reason I'm confident about that is that for the first time we have a level of authentication for taxpayers when they go to their preparers or when they use software. We have increased data that we get now that we didn't used to be able to have access to, of where the returns are coming from and how many are coming from individual computers, all through our private sector partnership, so that we have, as I say, taken the entire tax system and put it together in a unified attempt for the first time ever in a partnership, a true public-private partnership.
So on that, so the 700,000 that have had their personal information compromised, I mean, when did that change in terms of the implementations that you've made? And though I mean, we're not seeing the level, the numbers that have been compromised. I mean, has that changed since when?
I'm not sure I quite understand. The 700,000 successful accesses by criminals in our GET transcript took place for over a period from 2014 to 15. We originally looked at the immediate impact with the IG, then with them, they collected data for us for the entire time. That system is down. When it comes back up, it will be much more secure and also much more difficult for taxpayers to use, but that's the trade-off we continually have to make.
And then one thing that I haven't heard you talk about is, so we've talked about these hackers and the criminals. I mean, tell me about the successful prosecutions that you've had in terms of the deterrent effect. If we're going to stop this from going forward, the successes you've had with successful prosecutions going after people that you can kind of hold out that we've stopped this and these people are being held accountable.
We have put over 2,000 people in jail in cooperation with the IG and the Department of Justice.
Can you give me a couple examples of kind of highlighted cases where, and the effect that's had?
I get reports of those every day. Those are people who have created syndicates. They've filed $100 million worth of false returns. They've filed large numbers. The courts have been very supportive. The average time of incarceration is over 3.5 years for each of those convictions. They are widely publicized. As I say, I get a list of them every day. We'd be delighted to give you. We just put out, about 3 or 4 weeks ago, the Criminal Investigation Division put out a release, which I'd be happy to get you, of the 10 most significant criminal prosecutions for identity theft and refund fraud.
And have you found that that the criminal code right now, in terms of the sentences people are getting, is it having a deterrent effect? Does that need to change? Are there recommendations on that?
At this point, we don't. We think that the courts and the code have been sufficient on that ground. As I say, part of what's happened as we've, I think, begun to be successful at stopping criminals locally increasingly what we're discovering is we're dealing with organized crime syndicates in Eastern Europe and Asia, where it's much harder to get prosecution. The people that are operating with them here are basically relatively low level. We have over 1,700 investigations going on right now, leading toward further criminal prosecutions. But at this point, I don't think increasing the severity of the penalty for fraud is a need for us. As I say, the courts have been very good. Average sentences, some sentences have been in the range of 10 to 20 years.
Thank you. Those are all my questions.